Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Um, so today, finally, after a serious 72 hours of relentless deals being put in progress, um, the trade deadline has come and went, and we've had an outstanding number of trades to break down here. Shout out to Shams, shout out to Chris Haynes, shout out to just anybody that was providing the information during this time. Truly was an honor. Um, in terms of peak ceiling, obviously that Luka Doncic trade is probably a top five trade ever made in any sport for that matter, let alone just the NBA. It's the first trade deadline without Woj. Uh, Want to salute him for all his amazing years and contribution to the NBA. Such a big part of my life, watching him play. Um, with that being said, watching him call big time deals and bringing them to the forefront. I got a list here of trades that have been made, not in no particular order. I want to go ahead and just recap everything. Um, the first one I have here is the Milwaukee Bucks trading for Kyle Kuzma in exchange for uh, Chris Middleton, NBA champion, mid-range assassin, and obviously one would argue, even though I did witness one of the most prolific gifted scorers in Glenn Robinson, Brandon Jennings, ex-Milwaukee Buck, who now works shoulder to shoulder with the franchise, if I'm not mistaken, deemed him as the greatest small forward in the franchise history. Uh, will be heading by way of the Washington Wizards in exchange for Kyle Kuzma, former NBA champion of the Los Angeles Lakers. The Milwaukee Bucks have been a team historically that have been relatively slow. Chris Middleton's coming off 2 ankle surgeries, was practically playing on one leg last year in the playoffs. Um, Started off slow this year once he did finally play, which we were almost pretty much near the All-Star break when he finally got on the court. Then they eventually, Doc had to move him to the bench, and now you'll see him in more of a mentor capacity. It's already been explained that he will not be waived. He will not have a choice of signing with another team. I think he can teach a lot, first and foremost, from what the Wizards stand to gain. A lot to Alex Sarr, Bilal Calabi. This is one of the most polished offensive scorers the game has seen in recent memory. And he's an ultimate team professional. Yes, Giannis greenlit the trade, but also that was Giannis's right hand at his wedding this summer. And so the character is off the charts, unbelievable role model. Um, so, you know, seeing him, uh, seeing him in a Bucks uni is quite special. They also are getting Jericho Sims, uh, the Milwaukee Bucks, that is. Um, in this trade because the Knicks added themselves to the deal to help make it work. They also got Jericho Sims, who registered the third highest vertical in NBA Combine history. Jericho's a little bit of surprise to me. I thought he would have been a little bit more further down in his development with the New York Knicks, part of the original pick of the now president Leon Rose, one of his early picks. Great gem in the second round. Raw player, but definitely has pure strength, pure athleticism, very raw prospect. Not much of a talker, but just giving the Bucks some added depth. Not particularly astute offensively in any kind of capacity, though. Bucks also got a second round pick, so they continue to add. They got a guy in Tyler Smith, 6'10". That's going to make that deal worth a little extra, because as I've stated, second round picks have become the new first with the lack of stringency with on the salary cap. Yet there's so much abundant talent out in the world now. It's a win-win. Uh, with that being said, the Knicks got cash considerations and some prospect from Europe. They did get the prospect the Knicks received is considered Europe's best kept secret. and has a his name is Hugo Basso, and he has a similar game that sports Tyler Hero, but I don't think he'll be coming over. Um, but the Kuzma deal was necessary just for the simple fact that they needed to get faster. They needed to get more athletic. It's just he's been playing bad basketball for quite some time in Washington, so the concern is where's his head at. Time will be the revealer of all things in that department, but at the moment, it was a great gamble. You know, it's all or nothing for the Bucks, and they had to do something, and I respect the decision. Middleton, they also. We'll get to Marcus Smart and the rest. Let's get to the next trade. Um, Thunder acquired Daniel Theis, who had a prolific run with the Clippers last year. Nice summer in the Olympics. Uh, it's just crazy because they also got another draft pick from the Pelicans just so that the Pelicans can ensure their salary cap. Unfortunately, that's what it takes. Sam Presti is practically at the point now where he's drafting for the league. They have been running uh, Jalen Williams at the center spot. I think that experiment has came and went. Chet Holmgren is returning, I believe, in the next week or so. And so, if in the event, hopefully not, he gets injured again, they're not going to be trying to put their two guard now going down the stretch in the playoffs run now in jeopardy. Getting a body, willing and able body, and Daniel Theis is necessary to back up Hartenstein, who also, though he was signed in free agency, arrived with some injuries, slash injuries. So that was a necessary acquisition, quality depth. Let's get to the Warriors acquiring Jimmy Butler. I'm going to tell you I'm a huge fan of this deal. Quietly, the Golden State Warriors remind me a lot of the bubble Miami Heat. And Jimmy going to this situation, there's already a viral picture of him smoking a cigar. You could tell it's all on his face. He's back. He's back to being who he is already. You could tell he looks like he's breathing a sigh of relief. He did not want to end his career in Miami. Miami does not surprise me acquiring Andrew Wiggins, who happens to wear the same number as Jimmy. Mind you, the Miami Heat have retired players who don't even play for them. In Michael Jordan, they've retired Chris Bosh, who wasn't originally drafted by that franchise and had a short career, 7 seasons. I think it was 7 seasons with the Heat, but made an incredible sacrifice. So to me, it's kind of, bizarre that they go get a guy who's wearing the exact number 22, especially when Dennis Schroeder is what they really needed. They never properly replaced Damian Lillard, and Terry Rozier with this pending Fed case just thin their roster out a little bit more. They've been running a lot of point guard by committee in Miami as of late. They also acquired Kyle Anderson and PJ Tucker along with a protected first. I really don't like the deal. It's an underwhelming package to me for the Heat, for the simple fact they already have Jokic and Jaime Vasquez over there. I don't believe that they should be taking people in return who are going to interfere with his minutes. If it was important to get another wing, small forward, then maybe Moody. But they really needed a PG, and this was the Podziemski, something like that. This was not a good move for them. Pistons got Josh Richardson and Lindsey Waters, a prospect from the Warriors. Waters, that is. Richardson's best days are behind him. He's actually, but and then Schroeder went to the Jazz, but then got rerouted to the Detroit Pistons, where he'll be a great supplement in the interim while Jaden Ivey recovers from his season-ending injury. Jimmy is the priority here, though. It looks like a lateral move on surface, but the Warriors are developing an identity now. 3 scrappy guys in pods, 3 psychos in pods, and Draymond and Jimmy. And then you got a rebounder like Looney, physical enforcer. They're building an identity over there. A little long in the tooth, but I like it. The idea of changing the overall spirit, completely opposite personality of what Andrew Wiggins has been about. To the Toronto Raptors and their big-time 3-player deal. They swapped out with the Pelicans, again a team that's been trying to get under the cap. Um, Pelicans send Brandon Ingram, which will be the final player in the Anthony Davis trade. Ironically, around the same time that Anthony Davis goes to the Dallas Mavericks. In return, the Pelicans got Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, stretch big, and a first and a second. Uh, at the end of the day, what I find fascinating about this deal, first and foremost, I love the fact that, I mean, this deal is all Toronto, really. I do really respect Kelly Olynyk, but he lost a lot of steam from after that Utah trade. He became a totally different player than what I recognized. Will Hardy had him in a phenomenal point center role, and then he got to Toronto and he got back to being a traditional big for the most part. We'll see how he's going to get used with the Pelicans, but the Pelicans are so marred by injuries. So this deal is really about the Toronto Raptors. Last year I was pretty vocal, and I've been vocal, that I didn't like the fact that Pascal Siakam was traded. I felt like he should have stayed and been a lifer with the Raptors, seeing how he won a ring. Masai Ujiri felt like, one, Pascal didn't want to take the contract offer, even though he took the same money that Ujiri offered him with the Pacers for the most part. And so, watching this unravel, it's fascinating that Ujiri made that deal, was patient, then used the very assets that he got from that deal to get Brandon Ingram, who's 3 years younger and matches the timeline with Scotty Barnes, R.J. Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley. It's a great deal for them. Jake Potel's a guy who's quietly made a nice name for himself the last couple of years. Always was held in high regards from the Spurs. Very difficult to see him leave for the Popovich team, but he seems to have carved out a home for himself. For better or worse, that's a respectable five. You got Grady D off the bench, Boucher, who was growing a lot of interest, 6'9" power forward, 3-level scorer, high energy, physical guy, skinny, strong. They have pieces. They have pieces there in Toronto, and is it a championship? Never say never, but they can definitely make some noise in the East, especially if that nucleus just continues to stay the course. Obviously, Scotty Barnes is viewed as the franchise. I like Quickley. I like Barrett. They just got to stay healthy and be on the court. But you got to respect Ujiri, man. He really waited his time and caught that big trade and that piece in Brandon Ingram down the Riverwalk, and got it at a low. Because when Brandon Ingram is playing, he's still one of the best scorers in the league. So kudos to them. Next up, Lakers acquiring Mark Williams for Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, and protected first-round pick in 31, and then his pick swap in 30. Mark Williams statistically was performing like the second-best center in the NBA. I was talking about him just before his season began. I thought he was going to be a piece that they built around in Charlotte. It didn't end up going on that way. Charlotte, flipped him and then got Yusuf Nurkic, which I'll get to in a second. But I respect the deal from the standpoint that, Mark has been injury ridden, and so they decided to sell high. The Hornets are not in any kind of rush to be competitive right now. They have a massive youth movement. Acquiring Dalton Connect and Cam Reddish, I'm more excited. I know this sounds crazy because it's a long shot that Cam Reddish sticks on the roster, but I'm more of a fan of the Cam Reddish acquisition than I am Dalton Connect. Dalton Connect is already a victim of choppy minutes, and him going to a logjam of Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller. They did move off Martin recently, but the priorities are the priorities there. Bridges is on a long-term deal. He's not a power forward, big picture. He might play power forward right now, but he's really a small forward with the height of a two guard, and seeing him playing power forward is kind of crazy. It's Dalton being a scorer and kind of a shooter, they need rhythm, and looks like another choppy situation. What I like about Cam Reddish, though, he played ball at Duke. He was there, speaking of R.J. Barrett. and with RJ and Zion. And Cam to me was a little bit more talented than RJ, but obviously RJ came a little more with this prestige in the background, being Steve Nash's godson. If I'm not mistaken, they're definitely family related. And so he was given more opportunities to shine, even though there was games where Cam took over and had a far more diverse bag. Got to the league and it's been very tumultuous and stumbly. When he left the Knicks to go to the Lakers, he went from no justifiable reason to play to being just thrown into the spotlight, which LeBron is one team on his own, which many fold when they get next to him, and the Lakers is a whole nother beast. And so I felt like it was way too dramatic. Now you got the guy who's on his last limb. It's like Kevin Knox, so to speak, ironically, another former Knick, Kentucky guy, drafted extremely young with a nice bag, but just never got comfortable in the league. And he's been bouncing around from Summer League to G League. Cam is at the point now where it's like he went completely irrelevant. This is close to home where he used to have his identity as a fierce hooper. Maybe he catches his big break here. I'm crossing my fingers for Cam, man. I really think there's somewhere a happy medium. Do I think he's a 20 a night guy now? No. But I think he could be at 9 points, 2 steals, 3 steals a game kind of guy. Yeah, 2-3 steals a game. Because what happened when he went to the Lakers, he had to really hone in on being a lockdown defender and not worrying about scoring. But it's such open rec. I think he could truly be a pleasant surprise with the Hornets if he's retained and kept on the roster. Be on the lookout for that, Cam Reddish. The next trade is Wizards got another veteran player in Reggie Jackson. They got Reggie Jackson. They got Marcus Smart. They got Chris Middleton, Malcolm Brogdon, mind you. They are just accruing a bunch of veterans over there to groom these young guys that they have developing. Buck Carrington, George, Sarr, Bilal Calabi, and time for the rollout toward, on the path to rolling out the new stadium. The future is very promising. I like what they did. I'm sure one of these guys are going to be put on the open market, but yeah, they actually waived him later on. Reggie Jackson's a free agent, but they got a first round pick from Philly. Philly got 2 seconds and then another 2 seconds. Got a second round pick in 27, 28, and then 2 more in 2030. So they must have their eyes set on something or moving up or something like that. Maybe going after Dylan Harper, because so aggressive for this 26 pick, 2026 first rounder. I don't know why. Raptors made a deal with Miami for Davion Mitchell. Maybe they try Mitchell at the 1, low cost, high reward kind of guy. They don't have a 1. Terry Rozier, maybe that's a Terry Rozier replacement. PJ Tucker going to the Raptors. I don't know, call me crazy. I don't know if the Raptors are aiming for the play-in or what, but PJ does have some experience. He is a former Raptor, Toronto Raptor. He understands the city. I think he was there when they won a championship. So that'll be interesting to watch. Shout out to them. Davion Mitchell, like I said, he kind of fits in the mold of a younger Terry Rozier when you think about it. Maybe that's their guy they're going to experiment. I don't know him to be a point guard, but Terry Rozier isn't a natural distributor either. He's more of a 6-man scoring bucket getter, so that'll be interesting. Now, big time trade today, what I really liked for the Suns and the New Orleans Hornets. For the Charlotte Hornets. Nurkic, he's completely low stock right now. And what I like about it, if you're not in a rush and you got a guy like Melo, maybe he brings out the best in Nurkic. There was a time when the lines were blurred between who was better, him or Jokic. And so, obviously, we know who won that battle in the end, and then Jokic went on a long hiatus due to injuries. But maybe he finds himself in even if it's empty calories, he can put up some numbers in Charlotte. They're not worried about winning. He can get his numbers. He doesn't have to worry about anything. It's open gym, open rec over there. What I found to be very sneaky good, though, today, and this is a bonus all-star trade that probably flew under the radar, Vasily Micic. They got Cody Martin and the Suns, which is kind of overlapping Ryan Dunn, and they already got a logjam at the 2 guard with Grayson and Bradley Beal, along with Devin Booker, so it's going to be hard for Martin to get his minutes. But whatever, insurance policy. But Vasily Mitic is one of the purest passers, and Tyus Jones has been a major letdown in Phoenix. He's just there by name. He's not really running point accurately. Vitches is a natural born distributor, and he's 31 years old. This is a great trade. This was an A+ move by the Phoenix Suns in a last ditch effort to try to bring some tranquility amongst all these scoring players. Because right now, as you all know, someone said it earlier, Kevin Durant's legacy is riding on is on the cusp of depending on Bradley Beal. And the only thing you can do at this point is try to get a point guard to properly manage all this and get this offense in a set, because Tyus Jones, like I said, he's been a huge disappointment. He's only worth $3 million on a 1-year deal. He's been a letdown. So shout out to the Suns and James Jones in that acquisition. Sneaky good. Now this was a trade that really surprised me today, and this is the type of trades that make you want to hit your YouTube and make a video, man. The Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Cavaliers made a deal today, and the deal really could very well set the Cavs over the top, even over Boston. And the reason why I say that is DeAndre Hunter. Well, let me read the deal. Cavs received DeAndre Hunter, one of the most versatile glue guys in the league, 6'8", wiry, strong, athletic. In some ways will remind you in moments that he's like Scottie Pippen. Now, I know Pippen is elite, but... And then the Hawks, they got Karis LeVert, Georgie Nang, 3 second-round picks, and 2 pick swaps. The Hawks don't have their first. So I was a bit surprised on face value when I seen this trade. And they made another deal after this, that's the other one that's up there with the Mitic deal. In terms of sneaky good, deceptive, low cost, high reward decisions. But DeAndre Hunter, sending him to the Cavs, it almost giving we're 3-4 years away from being taken serious after today, right? Because it's not just that you lost Hunter, it's where you sent him. You basically help it mobilize a powerhouse team that already has years of being together. Their core nucleus has years of being together. Got a coach who has a big time chip on his shoulder after being done wrong in in Brooklyn, and in Kenny Atkinson. And they're playing a traditional lineup: 6'11" power forward, 7-foot center. This was the only spot, and then Darius Garland, who's improving every day as a point guard distributor, and Donovan Mitchell, who's a top 3 2 guard in this league, and probably top 15 all time. This was the final piece they needed. And the fact that Ty Jerome, a potential 6th Man of the Year candidate, is former college teammates with Hunter at Virginia, it just takes this deal over the top. Landry Fields is pressed to get the team under the salary apron. The Hawks have one of the more lower attendance records, so gracing close to that first, second apron nonsense is very dangerous for that franchise, especially seeing, like I said, they have one of the lower attendance records last I checked. So they had to make a move. Karis LeVert, one of the more craftier, skilled bucket getters in the league. There's moments where he can blur the lines with Kyrie. Georgie Nang, that's hilarious. But, getting Hunter is just another effortless move. It's up there with the Luka thing where you're just kind of like, wow, you let him get that? That's crazy. So kudos to them. Now, what happened was shortly after, the Hawks acquired Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, and then 3 second-round picks, one in 25, one in 26, and another one in 27. In return, the Clippers got Bogdan Bogdanovic. You all might remember, had a phenomenal Olympics. The little back and forth with Melo was cool. It was fun. And so what I think is deceptively getting lost in translation to the point where even Chris Haynes thought, released a report that Trae Young is not happy. Terrence Mann, be on the lookout. this next half of the season, expect him to go crazy. I expect him to go on a rampage. This is a guy who's always flashed signs of brilliance, but the Clippers have been just so overwhelming with depth, whether it be Westbrook, Paul George, James Harden. They've always, since he's got there, always just had a logjam of talent. This year, Norman Powell's emergence, he's damn near averaging mid 25. It's trending on social media that, Norman Powell's one of the best in the game. He needs to be in the All-Star. It just never been odds in his favor. But this is a high motor guy. He really gives Josh Hart vibes out there, man. And Josh Hart has turned into a mini diet, has turned into a diet Russell Westbrook, I like to say. And I think that's exactly who he's going to be for the Hawks. He's going to be a pleasant surprise. This could be an embarrassing take later on, but I don't care. They start him as small forward. You put him with Dyson Daniels. He plays with the same kind of tenacity that Daniels plays with, the energy, the spirit of the team, along with Oye at power forward. And you got Trae Young still there. Don't be surprised if he becomes a stat stuffer for all my fantasy players out there, FanDuel, DraftKings, Prize Picks. This is a guy who's going to stuff the stat sheet column. So be on the lookout. Bones Highland, as great as I thought, that's another guy who I felt like was not being done right in Clipper Nation. I wanted to see him start. I didn't see James being such a ball-dominant guard for some reason. Just because he was older, I thought he would be more off-ball. He is definitely high usage rate still, like he's in his 20s or early 30s, despite all the mileage of basketball on him. But kudos to him, man. You know what I mean? In the season he's having, whether you like it or not, it's amazing what he's doing. I didn't know he had this much left in the tank. He's focused. He's been a great leader. This roster, Lawrence Frank has done a phenomenal job of keeping him surrounded properly. I love the fact that Bogdan is replacing KCP. I think Bogdan replacing KCP is going to be extremely, not Kentavious Caldwell Pope, but the other Pope. So, that was a great move, solidifying their wings, getting someone a little more serious. There was moments where Pope was looking very sketch out there, but that was a big-time acquisition for both parties, believe it or not. This is going to be an underrated trade that we're going to look back on, I believe, and say, wow, what an impact trade that didn't get a lot of glamour because it's a very rice and potatoes and steak kind of meal that's going to work out really well for both parties. Bones, like I said, him on a second unit being able to play open rec, you'll be surprised he could easily morph into Lou Williams for them. You never know. Dennis Schroeder being traded to the Pistons, and while the Jazz get back K.J. Martin and Josh Richardson along with a second-round pick, Pistons needed to get a Jaden Ivey replacement, plain and simple. There was talks of Killian Hayes. The world is being relieved at this moment, knowing that doesn't have to happen again. All jokes aside, though, they finally got a backup. Watch out for Detroit, man. Them as the 7th seed, I'm more scared of them than I am of Indiana if I'm in the playoffs. That is a team that doesn't have a lot of roster flaws. When you think about, they got Beasley, they got Hardaway, they got Cunningham, and now add Schroeder to the mix. I mean, he was beasting over there with the Brooklyn Nets. So I'm very happy for that guy, man. He got into a good situation. It won't be as easy. The minutes, I think it's going to be a unique breakdown. Maybe Hardaway and Beasley play more threes over there. But, hey, the Pistons are as dangerous as anyone right now, man. They could be a team that knocks off the Cavs. It went down to the wire the other night. Garland hit a buzzer beater, but that game went down to the wire. And if you're Indiana, the Knicks, you're in for trouble. You're in for trouble depending on how Tobias Harris plays. You're not, these are not a team you want to run into, especially, the physicality goes up, the leniency from the refs, and that's right up Detroit Pistons alley. You just never know, but they just got a little bit more dangerous. I feel for KJ Martin, man. He just keeps running around, and he's going to another loaded franchise in Utah in terms of prospects. He just keeps, I thought he was going to get burned this year with all the Paul George injuries and, Joel Embiid and everything. I thought he was going to really get a chance to prove himself, and once again, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and I have my doubts of that happening with the Jazz even. I'm sorry, I kept saying Caldwell Pope. I meant to say Kevin Porter, who was traded from the Bucks. I mean, from the Clippers to the Bucks. The Clippers take Major Beauchamp back. Porter with a guy like Giannis, that's a completely different roster construction. Porter going to the Bucks, it's really a good move for him. When you're on a team with a guy who draws a lot of double teams, he's going, man, you put Porter along with Kuzma, they just got some guys who can really go get a bucket on their own, and he's not afraid to shoot it, and that's all you can ask for. They're not going to think twice about it. Giannis commands too. Porter's already a very skilled, gifted scorer. This was a very nice gamble. Like I said, him and Porter, the Bucks made some risky moves. These guys are live wires. Porter has been known to be a little bit. Kuzma too on the court in terms of just speaking basketball only. But they're looking at it like Giannis is so dominant, and he's so much of an alpha leader in that locker room that they think they can reel in Porter and Kuzma. You definitely need guys who are not afraid to shoot. These two guys are a great complement. I think it's a great risk. Good for the Bucks, man. I think that's a guy that doesn't need to be told what to do. He's going to go out there and look for his, and that's exactly what you need when you have a guy like a Giannis, a LeBron. Franchise guys, you need guys who around them that are not afraid of the moment and are going to go out there and get it. And if anything, you have to reel them in. Last but not least, and I kind of talked about this earlier, Wizards, Grizzlies, Kings. So the Wizards got Marcus Smart, Kobe Jones, Alex Len, and a 2025 first round pick from the Grizzlies, which will probably be really late because the Grizzlies are a very talented roster. And the Grizzlies received 2 second-round picks, 6'11", floor spacing Marvin Bagley and Johnny Davis, who's on paper got a lot of skills as a swing man, but just hasn't really brought it all together. The Kings got Jake LaRavia, a very gifted player at the 2 guard, 6'5" guy. This is a deceptively good trade. I just don't know why they did that when they already got Keon Ellis, Malik Monk, even though they plan on playing him at the 1. Carter's already over there. And obviously the Zach LaVine move, that was part of the De'Aaron Fox trade. I don't quite understand that decision, but, whatever. At the end of the day, the Wizards look like they got themselves another mentor in that locker room. It's crazy to think Marcus Smart started with the Boston Celtics and now he's with the lowly Wizards, but it is what it is in that standpoint. The Grizzlies getting Marvin Bagley is a little bit of a head scratcher to me, just for the simple fact that Brandon Clark is already there. I know he's been injury prone, but they got Edie as well, JJ. I guess it's just a great insurance policy, but wow, you know what I mean? It's just man, he is just buried in the abyss of irrelevance, man. I don't know how he's going to get off the pine when you're just loaded, on a loaded roster like the Grizzlies, probably the most loaded roster in the league. They got prospect on prospects on prospects. Jay Huff is over there too, who's been a sensation for them. So I don't know. That's a tricky one, but it's a very unusual trade. Besides the draft picks, I really don't understand what any of these teams got, because you want to tell me Marcus Smart is a great player, but you got already, Malcolm Brogdon over there, so it kind of is how many vets guards do you need? But it is what it is. I don't like the trade, but it is, only they know what their intentions. Maybe somebody gets cut from all those vets over there, because now you got Brogdon, Smart, Middleton. It's kind of, you know, it's a lot a little bit, to be honest with you. Remember that Jonas Valanciunas is now joining the Kings as well. Um, what I'm Speaking of the Kings, Spurs, De'Aaron Fox, Zach LaVine, Chicago Bulls trade. Chicago got their first back. They could easily be able to get a guy like, Ace Bailey sweepstakes or Cooper Flag. That's super under the radar as well. But, just to recap, I really like Terrence Mann going to the Hawks. I think he's going to be a stat stuffer. I really like the idea of Micic, the 6'3" Euro point guard, 31 years old, for the Suns. And I also like the idea of Kevin Porter going to the Bucks. These are three deceptively good trades. Also, I'm rooting for Cam Reddish. I hope this video was informative, Utopians. This is one of the more legendary trade deadlines. I hope I brought some clarity to y'all. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.